Okay, so we're actually going to keep working through the app that we started to build where we can take photos. And I've just been playing around with it. And as you can see, we kind of get like emojis in here, which is an extra bonus. I didn't anticipate that. We're able to get our photos to load quickly, which was another thing that we wanted to confirm. So if you look and see how we're kind of navigating through, um, one of the comments throughout the week came back and said, how do you get the high fidelity image? Is there a way to do that? And then we can take a closer look at that. The other question was, how do you, and that's why I have this video labeled as before and after. How do you actually take before and after photos if you're only dealing with a single collection? So we're going to talk through that, and we're going to try to I'm going to try to be on point, on task, and talk about this quickly, and so that way we can go ahead and get started with our holiday weekend, which is going to be awesome, and then also with our day. Okay, so here I have, let's just see, this pack of gum here. We're going to take some before and after photos of this just to confirm this is still working as expected, right? And then let's see what we got here. There we go. That's the expiration date, which I never knew was there. And now you can say before, and then let's add an emoji. Let's see, gum. Is there a gum emoji? Probably not in the happy faces, huh? Let's try in stickers. All right. Oh, this is not going to work, is it? Nope. He's rejecting the stickers. He says stickers are too rich of a media type. Why am I? Oh, okay, let's see. Gum. Nope. All right, let's just find a cool one. All right, let's go with that. And let's go ahead and submit it. And as we talked about before, because what we're doing, we're taking this collection, just kind of a quick recap, right? So we're just taking this collection and we're dumping that into our Microsoft Flow, which is in turn is going to dump into a document library. So that process takes a while. So when we click into when we click inside of the actual item, we're going to get your photos being processed. That's just because that PowerApp Flow is running. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's clean this up, because what we want to do, we want to be able to click on these and scroll through, and we also want to be able to show that we can actually take before and after photos. So the first thing first, let's go ahead and jump into PowerApps Studio and do an edit on this guy. Let me see, and okay, so we got edit requests here. Oops, I meant to click edit instead of play. So I go into the edit request, and basically what I want to do is create another screen. There's several ways you can do this, right? You can just have a gallery that pops up in your existing screen, and then kind of fake or give the optical illusion of a modal window, and then handle it that way. That's going to take, it's going to cost you a few expressions or formulas to get that done. It's not tough. But it's not intuitive, and it's not straightforward, because you got to hide certain controls and display certain controls, and you have to have like this rectangle backdrop to kind of seem like it's grayed out. You know how modal windows do; they kind of like gray out the back end, and only the focus is on the modal window itself. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the easy route, and we're just going to create another screen, and we can name this screen. Let's just name the screen photo gallery, for the lack of a better term, right? And in this photo gallery, we actually need that when you actually need a gallery. And this is going to be a horizontal, because what we're going to do, we're going to allow them to thumb through those photos. And we also want to put in our rectangle. I actually like to use this plus sign over here on the left, because there's a lot of the things that I really need are shortcut and right in my face. So that's pretty awesome. So let's see. Actually, instead of building this from scratch, let's control and select everything that we need. We actually don't need the delete icon, and we don't need that one either. I'll just copy this, go down to our photo gallery, paste that in, bump it up to 00 coordinate, which is the top left, and then just resize it this way, and just give this guy a new name, and we're done. Ideally, right, and we know better, I mean, just from the video series that we've been looking at, ideally you'll want to use a component, but I don't have that component infrastructure set up, or a simple component set up. So we're going to cheat. Photo details, okay? And if they click back, this should navigate to the, which screen would they be on? They would be on the detail screen, right? So they click it from here, navigate here. So we want to push them back to the detail screen. So let's just rename this navigation to detail screen 1. And my names are horrible. They actually should be proper names. Okay, so that's working. So now what we want to do, when you click on the image, let's select one of these images. And again, as we discussed before in the gallery, when you're working with this gallery, you want to make sure that you're only interacting with the first item in the gallery collection, because that's your template. Whatever you do to the first item in the collection, all the other items are going to replicate that, right? So here we got image 1 on select. You want to select parent. That's good, because what you're doing with the select parent is that you're saying, okay, from this gallery, I'm selecting this item. And you need that because once you go to the other screen, you need to know which item was selected so you know how to handle it. All right, so here, let's just say navigate to photos. Let's see, where we at? Photo, what did I call that? Photo gallery. That's not the right name. Sorry, my naming conventions today are really, actually, let me fix this. There should be screen. Everything with the screen you want. And ideally, I want to prefix these with screens. So my ability or my intentions to be correct from a design perspective is kicking in. All right, so now we want to do this with a fade. So let's just do transition fade, and that's going to be your formula, right? So now if I hold on my Alt key and click on this guy, it takes me there. All right, fantastic. So now with this gallery, as I said before, we have to tell it which photo we actually selected. So it knows how, or actually which item we selected, so it knows how to grab those photos. So here we do gallery photo details. I'm just putting a unique name on this gallery control for this detail piece. We don't need the title because we're not using that. We don't need the subtitle that we get for free and by default because we're not using that either. So now what we want to do, let's go ahead and populate this gallery. So this is actually going to be, what is this going to be? This is actually going to be, good question. So snap photos, item, selected. I think this is going to be a replica of this, right? For the selected ID. Yeah, this is actually going to be the same collection. So I'm just copying whatever I have in my items collection here to view these photos. I'm actually going to view that same collection of photos here, just in a much larger scale. All right, so let me stretch out this image icon. And now if I go to the image, and it's asking which image do you want. Remember how we looked in this and we had link to image. This is actually going to give you the raw, and you see how slow that loads in. That is the raw image, unfiltered. It was blurry. Oh no, because the focus was here. So this is going to be the raw image, unfiltered. And let's do a fill, right? And you have to be careful with this because I think one of these will not show the entire image. It probably would just crop it. And if you're taking like photos of machines and all this other good stuff, you want to be careful because you don't want an important piece of information to get lost because it's cropping the image in order to make it fit nice within this box. So I think you can do, if you do a fit, you're going to get everything that was taken as far as the photo, though it may not fit correctly, which is fine. We can make it out. So I had to play around with this. So here I'm pushing my template out. I have enough real estate, and that's the reason why we're doing this separate screen. So I have enough real estate to really stretch this out. But then what I'm doing, I'm cheating the next photo just right there on the edge, because just like Netflix and Facebook, when you're viewing the gallery and the Facebook post, they kind of give you a sense that there's more there, that kind of gives you that sense to swipe, right? And because we selected the horizontal gallery, our swiping action is going to be in play. And really, honestly, that's it. But we can't use linked item. Linked item, if I push this up, will only work in the browser. We talked about this in the previous session, that we want to use the thumbnail, which makes those photos available to us on the mobile device. So here with the thumbnail, you want to do thumbnail.large, grab the largest one that you can grab, and that's going to bring that in. It's not going to be the high fidelity. In this case, I think these images are coming over at like 2.7 megabits per image. So it's not going to be that heavy, but for a mobile device, it's going to be fine. And the good news is, if you had to email, or if you had to add this to another process, the original high fidelity image will be there. It's just that the fact that you have to interact with it on the browser on your laptop versus within the PowerApp app via mobile. All right. So that actually should work. So let's go ahead and push this up, and then we'll fire up the latest version on our mobile. Wait, let's just make sure that we're navigating. So if I go back, and I click here, if I click that, and actually the way I have this set up, it really doesn't matter which image you click on. It's actually going to start you in the same spot, which is, we probably can play around with that and figure out the best way to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and push this up. It seems to be working for the most part. So it passed our unit test. We're going to go ahead and publish this. And then, Fringy, how you doing? Good morning. Good day to you, Fringy. Thanks for joining. Okay, so let's go switch over here to Teams. And let me go ahead and authenticate. Let me go back. Actually, you have to go all the way back. So I'm going back to the original, hit the equipment request. And this is going to, and you see the notification at the top there. It says, hey, you got a latest version. I click on that. And now I have this. And now, because the way PowerApps work, I don't have to modify my existing. Like, I don't have to create a new one to see it. So that's how you detail that. And I'm not a big fan of, you know what, the one thing I probably would change, though, I don't know. I kind of, the one thing that bothers me a little bit, the way that this is navigating, is the fact that, oh, those are some cool. And then you can zoom in, right? So you still have that zoom in capability, which is cool. So that way, especially if you're taking photos of like something like machines or something like that, you can zoom in and really, especially if there's like a defect, you can zoom in and get a good view of it. And then, maybe build in some functionality if they actually had to have the, wow, how do you zoom out this thing? Okay. Zoom out. I'm done with the zoom. There we go. Jeez. All right. So, yeah, so you can build in an additional functionality that says, maybe I want to download the high fidelity and maybe make that available, but still we have to figure it out, because we always have to push that to a CDN or something. Oh, CDN. In SharePoint, you can create a library as a CDN. Maybe that's the ticket. I'll research it. I'll let you know. Yeah. All right. So let's move to our next item. So the next item we want to do is, so we upload. So let me switch back. Let me show you what the issue is. From where we are now, it's like, okay, these are the before. Let me see what the after look like. And you go into the after, and the first thing you see is that you see all your previous images there, which is probably not a good look. So one, we have to clear this out. And then two, once we start taking additional photos, we need the ability to start to flag these that says, okay, these are my afters, right? And right now, it's just going to group these as into a single collection. And it's hard to, even from a process standpoint, there's no way to kind of distinguish as like, oh, these are the after, and really giving the user the more flexibility that says, no, these are additional before photos, right? So we can't assume that even on the update, those were the after pics. We have to give that responsibility and that capability to the end user. So let's do this. let's go and modify our list. So this is the SharePoint list that's grabbing all of our requests. And on this list, we don't currently have any before or after flags, right, or metadata. But if you look at the library that's actually saving the photos, we had that because that was kind of copied over when we copied this list from existing, right? So now what we want to do, let's go into the equipment repair. Let's go, this is our list. Let's go ahead and create a choice column. And let's just call it photo type, for a lack of a better. And then you just do before, after enhancements. I don't know. All right. Whatever it's going to be. And then we're going to default this to before, because that way if they're creating new, and you can actually, because it's when you create new, you can, never mind, scratch that. So let's default it to new before. I was going to say, because we know when they're creating the new, we can default it to before. But the problem with that is we're dealing with a Canvas app, so we have to add in additional, there's no concept of new, I don't think. You have to look into that. So maybe we can fake it. For a custom form, it's very clear, right? But for a Canvas app, I think you have to add some logic in there to determine, oh, this is a brand new request versus you're updating an existing. And I'm talking about that when I go to in the flow. Yeah, so we have to pass to the flag. So for right now, to keep things simple, we're going to default to before, right? And what we're going to do here for our legacy, requests, because that default only kicks in when you create net new from this point forward. So for our legacy requests, we're actually going to go ahead and tag those as before. Right? Okay. Done. All right, so now that that's done, let's go ahead and pop back over into PowerApps Studio where we're editing this guy. And let's go ahead and refresh our data source so that way we can see the new metadata that we just added. And now when I go down to my control tree, let's take a look at edit, right? And here's where you want to add in that flag. So it's very simple. You just go down to your form control, go here and say edit fields, add the field that's missing. What do we call it? Photo type, right? And that's going to bring that in as a drop down. Oh, where put it? Put it at the end. We don't want it there. We want it maybe between repair date and description, right? So let's go ahead and select it, hit edit again, and then let's just bump it up. You can grab these guys and move it. So repair date right there. Photo type right there. Okay. All right, and I think we're good. So if I hold down the Alt key, hit the drop down, those are my options that are available. And actually, for the most part, as far as the form is concerned, I think we're done. We're actually, it's really that simple. The work is going to be in the Power App. Now, you can decide if you wanted to show that flag here or if you wanted to show that flag here. I actually think it's a better use case or user experience if you actually put the photos here, and maybe we'll take a closer look at that when I look into the CDN piece. All right, so let's switch over to our flow. Actually, let me push this up before we forget to save these changes. So we added that drop down there. We saw that was pretty straightforward, 5-second change, right? Go ahead and push this up. Let's go back to our Power Automate. And this is going to be our guy, the equipment request process. So let's go ahead and edit this. There's two things we need to do. So we saw that when we wanted to add those images, we had Carlos, how you doing? How you doing? We're working through it, man. We're trying to get this thing right. So here, as we saw before, we had the attachments and we had all the files in that attachments still there from the previous request. So now what we want to do, let's go ahead and get to get attachment content. This is where we're creating those I'm not creating them. Grabbing the attachment, creating the files in the document library, and then updating the metadata properties. So this one we want to modify, right? So here is before we were defaulting this to state before. Now we want to set this to the state value that the user specified, right? So if I filter on photo, that's the photo type value. So this is going to pull the photo type value from the requests selected or set by the end user. And by default, we have that set to before. So if they change it, even if they create a new item, if they change it to enhancement or after or whatever the case may be, that's on the user. They're the ones that changed it. So, but whatever they selected, that's what we're going to do here, and that state value's there. The next thing we want to do is that now that we have these files created, we have their profiles, their properties updated in the document library, the attachments that came over with the list, we actually want to clear that out. So let's talk about the best place to insert that. So here we have the item trigger that says, okay, this is a new creation, or they modifying it, so that's going to trigger that. Then we get the attachment. Then we talk about the loop. After that, we want to remove the attachments. So let's take a look at delete attachment, right? Can I delete all of them, or one at a time? Looks like one at a time. All right, so well, if I have to do it one at a time, put it in the apply to each, right? Yeah, so if I'm working with these, because I'm already working with these one at a time, so once it creates a file, does this update, yeah, let's go ahead and delete it, right? So, okay, so let's go ahead to our list here, equipment request 2. I think I have so many versions of that. Yeah, equipment request 2. The item, okay, which is the list item that hosts all of the attachments. And that's going to be the one that triggered this response, triggered this flow. So the item created or modified, that's going to be that guy there. Oh, I'm sorry. I did this in the last one. I have my video up, and it's hiding the things that I'm showing you. So, yeah, so I filter on ID, and I select the ID here. And again, it's super duper important to pay attention to these subheaders, because these subheaders says you have a lot of IDs, and some of them are named differently. Which part of the process of the item that you're trying to grab. And it's going to be this: when the item is created or modified, I snatch it from there. And then it's going to ask me, which file do you want to modify? So it's not the update file properties, because that's the one that's in the document library. So we don't want that one. Let me see. Can I do just simple ID and maybe filter these out? When the item is created or modified, it's not that one. It's not create file. It's the get attachments. It's this guy. It's the attachment that we got from the item collection. And then once we get that, we create this file. So we don't want to delete the file we just created in the document library, but we do want to delete the file that we just processed from the attachment collection. And that's that ID. I'm telling you, man, these IDs and these tags, understanding this flow here is super duper important. And I see so many people get tripped up because they have the right logic, they have the right idea, but they're grabbing the wrong token from the wrong area, and it's just not working. And then they're scratching their head like, why is this not working? Right? All right, so let's go ahead and save this all. And then what we can do, we can go ahead and send some test. We can send some test samples. So we'll send some test samples, and then if our test sample goes through, then what we'll do, we will change our layout to where we can distinguish the before photos from the after photos. All right, so let me go ahead and get out of here, go back into it, wait for my update prompt. I mean, this is some really powerful stuff, and we didn't even scratch into, PowerApps and artificial intelligence and things like that. So one of the things that I'm working in the lab, and I don't know if I'll have it done. Well, it's a holiday weekend, so maybe I will have it done next week. But I'm working in the lab of using the AI builder, right? And that's in Flow, to where you can actually record screenshots or screen activities. And from those screen activities, you can set those up in the Flow. So what I want to do is have either a Power App or a button trigger on some type of trigger in SharePoint that once I click it, it actually goes to my favorite pizzeria and order lunch using the pizza's website. Of course, we don't have access to their code, there's no API set up to where we can trigger and do this. This is all going to have to be done following or recording keystrokes in my activity on the ordering process on their site, and then placing the order there. So I'm digging into it, and I'm gonna see how feasible it is and how complicated it is to pull off, right? Because it's one thing to have the marketing behind this technology, and it's another thing to actually have the technology do what you expect it to do. All right, so here we go. We got before. Let's go ahead and do after. This is an existing request, so I expect my photos to still be there. So let's not do that. Let's not modify an existing one. Let's do a brand new one. All right, so here, what are we going to take a picture of? Let's take, I got some headphones. All right, so headphone, and I hated that my voice over text is not working, because that's such a cool feature and it saves me a lot of time. Headphone repair, and I'm not going to spend the time to try to search for a headphone icon. All right, I need this done by the 26th. Photo, these are my before photos. Description, let's say left speaker is not working or something like that. All right, and now what you're going to do is take pictures of it. So let's go over here. That's one. Take another one here, and then maybe open it up a little bit. Take this one here. All right. Okay, so that's fine. So now what we're going to do, let's go ahead and push this up. And the expectation is that once this process, we should be able to, when we go back into this item, we should be able to take another set of photos as our after to say, okay, yeah, we repaired it, and this is what was the problem, and we got it resolved, and whatever. But when we go back into it, we should not see our attachments as well. And this is going to take a while. So here is just saying your photos are being processed, which is good, right? Because that flow it actually doesn't take a while, but it's not instant. And, what our users are used to in this day and age is things being sub-second in response time. I mean, if you're within a 3-second range, maybe they're going to complain that it's slow. Anything over that, I mean, it's like, oh, no, this is a piece of crap. But if you give them the right messaging, and especially if your app brings a lot of value, they're going to have patience for things like this. Now, the one thing I think we need to change, like, you see that refresh button up here in the top? I'm sorry, I wasn't sharing my screen. You see that refresh button right here? This only refreshed the repair list, but because we added that second data source to handle our attachments, it does not refresh that data source. So I think that's the change we should update. So if I go back here, and the reason why you want this to refresh your data source, you see how it just refreshed the repair list? You want to refresh your photo gallery because, what do I call it? Snap photos. I saw it. Sorry. Because of that very point, like the document library may actually have the new images, but because we don't have an explicit refresh, it may take some time. I'm not sure what the timing is for the user to realize that, oh, okay, your images have actually made it to the library. So let's see. Let me click back on here and are they there yet? Okay, so there they go. So now they're here, and that's fine. This is existing functionality, so we didn't expect anything here to be different. But now if I click edit, you would notice two things. One, my attachments, see, this is why it's from a user-friendly perspective. I think it makes sense to know when it's a new request versus an edit request, so that way you can toggle or select one of these types based on the photo type, based on what they're in. But now my attachments are empty, so now I can come in and add additional photos and say, like, okay, here's the after. We got that repaired, and oh yeah, and then we dug into the dink-a-donk and the doohickey, and we got that all figured out, and now you're good to go. Oh, and that would be cool if we had like comments, right? You almost need like a running tally that says, oh yeah, we got this, oh wow, so that would be cool. So like if we had like a running tally, like an audit section that says the request were received this time by Deshaun, and it was assigned to technician XYZ, and XYZ looked at it and they add their notes, and then once it's repaired, they add more notes, and then they send it out. It's like, it was shipped. That type of stuff is super helpful, and it's actually not that bad to pull off. So okay, so here we are. We got our after. We have flagged this after. So let's go ahead and hit our plus sign. Go ahead and check it in. And now it's going to, I actually expect it to be mixed with the existing. So what's going to happen, once those after photos get processed, they will actually appear here with our other items, with our before photos. So now what we need to do, let's just assume that's going to process and that's going to work. Let's go ahead and jump into our photo apps, and let's go to the detail screen. Yeah. So what we're going to do, let's put our after photos on top of the before gallery, right? So let's go ahead and drop in another gallery. So I get another horizontal gallery, and then close this up. Oh, this is going to be interesting. I'm sorry, I'm thinking ahead. So let's go. Oh man, why would you do that? Just copy and paste the existing one, right? It's already formatted. You already have the template and size and everything. Just copy and paste this one, right? Just paste that in, all right, and move it up above. Come on, give me some room here. Squeeze that out. All right, so and then you want to label these, right? So the end user knows exactly. Say, I got two sets of photos. Who's who and what's what. So let's do before. So I say before photos, and then we grab this guy, copy it, paste it in, scroll him up. Man, I just need more space. All right, let's do this. Let's go move this down, move this down. Come on, move this down. There we go. Now I feel like we're doing something. Okay, and now and after. And it may seem reverse, but I think after is going to be your most recent or whatever. So, all right, so let's do after. And now what we want to do, let's rename this so it's clear on what's what. So rename this gallery view photos to gallery view after photos, right? And now we just put a filter on this guy. So the filter is going to be, not only do I want the item ID that match my request, and this is document library talking, I also want the where the I forget what I named it. Is it like state, photo state or something? What was the column name? I need the column name for the document library. I got bounced over there. I was trying to remember it. Okay, so my document library says, so it's just state, and that's a dangerous column name because state can be anything depending on the context. All right, so let's just do where state equals, and here I'm gonna have to hard code these, right? After state. That red squiggly was saying that, hey, you're trying to compare something, but they're two different data types. State.value, because this is a drop down. So this is a drop down column. So I have to get the selected item, then the value of that selected item is equal to after, right? And that should do that. And then for this one, I should see these right away. So now it's going to be filter, where's ID and state dot value equals before. All right, and there's no change, and I expect that not to be a change. My heart dropped when it flashed though. Okay, so now this is all good, but we know that we can get really slick with this, right? So we can hide this whole entire area, and we saw that, right, where we can do a count that says, okay, if this doesn't have anything in it, don't show this, and don't show this space, and possibly move this up, right? You can do formulas for all of that and make it super slick, and that way actually more user friendly but it's it's kind of a technique to get that done. But for right now, because we're kind of we're hitting we're past our 30-minute mark. So let's just go with this for now. Okay, so let me save this all, and this should work. And then if this works, we will go and layer in one more thing, and I think this will work. I haven't fully vetted this solution out when I'm thinking in my head, but the after photos, they don't have a click event that say you're looking at this set of photos versus the before set of photos versus the after set of photos when you're looking at the details, right? So we don't have that yet. So what I'm going to do, let me just hit refresh here. Let me test it out here first, because this is easier and faster than going through the steps of, switching to the app and going out and refreshing and getting the latest. Or maybe it's not faster. Look how long this is taking. All right, something's stuck here. Come on, wake up. All right, so while it's doing that, let's go ahead. Why is this taking forever? Come on. Hey, Audrey, how are you? Thanks for joining. It's an honor. So Audrey Gordon is part of the PowerApps team, and she is the master at formulas. I've learned a lot from Audrey and watching her shows on, I think it was Formula Friday or something like that. But I forget the proper name of it. But yeah, definitely check out Audrey's YouTube channel. And that's the other thing with a lot of this functionality within PowerApps, right? Creativity is everything, because what Microsoft has given us is all of the Lego blocks to put things together, but it's like how creative you are to make this work is everything, right? And I think that's the differentiator. So we are going to be digital transformation agents, right? And evangelists and preaching and getting our orgs in line and making them aware of all the cool tech that they already own, right? Because of Office 365. Everyone's sitting on this, right? If you have an E3 or if you have a business premium, depending on your org size, you're sitting on all of this tech. And the question is, what are you going to do with it and how are you going to enable it? And it's people like us that can help, move the marker, move that forward. And it's the creativity. So sharing these tips and tricks and the things that Audrey does is really awesome. And it sets it up. And look at my wife calling me in the middle of the demo. So I'm going to have to show her this video. So you made it the video. Okay, so here we go. So so you saw that I was able to bring these up, right? The before and after, which is really cool. So now if I go in here, you see my after is tagged as it should be. My before is tagged as it should be. Now, the question is going to be when I click on these images, right, and I go here, let me go to the headphone one. If I go to the headphone repair item, when I click on this guy and I go here, it's showing me everything. It's a mix of before and after. And the reason for that is because when I went into my gallery, right, I just told it, when I go into the photo details, I just told it that says, this is the item ID, and my items collection is just mimicking the same formula that I have, or used to have from my before. So it's bringing in all those photos. But now we have to get a little slick. So this is going to be interesting. I think there's one or two ways you can do this. The one way I would say is that we need to filter the state by, so filter, let's say state.value equal to, right, before we were doing after. So we can't hard code it because we don't know. But what we can do, we can say in here, we can set a global variable. I think this, without thinking about it much and trying to figure out the right balance of it, right? Because we want to build things that are have some finesse and are easy to maintain. So without really thinking it through, let's try this. So let's try on select. When you click on this, let's go ahead and have this set a variable, right? And we'll call it state. And this is going to be my after gallery. So if you click on the photo in my after gallery set, let's just go ahead and set this to after, right? And then I can use it. And this is going to make this super flexible in a sense of, now I can reuse that screen in that set without having to rebuild it for every type, right? So now I do the same for here in my gallery photos for before. And now if I go through and view this guy, I don't have any after, but if I hold on my control key and hit Alt, it brings up a blank gallery. And that's because here in my photo details that shows the large view, I didn't tell it to use that global variable. So var state is going to set that, right? So now if I save this all, you go ahead and push this up, you will be able to see how I am able to use that same photo gallery detail regardless if it's a before or after photo state, right? Right. All right, so now let's go, let me click back here, hit close, hit the equipment request, and I'm going to say I must have done it too quickly. All right, so now we have it here. Now our headphones one is the only one that has the before and afters. Oh my goodness. I think I might have to take this. All right, so let's end this quickly because she usually don't call me back to back. And she's blocking me. Give me 1 second. All right, so sorry guys, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. So, all right, so here you got my before and after, and you can see now that when I click on these, it actually shows me the right set of videos for that. All right, so that's it for this video. So in the next video, I have to call my wife back. So let me get back to her real quick. So in the next video, what we're gonna do, we'll talk about a CDN, like because we have these large thumbnails, right, and they come in through clear. But what if we needed the high fidelity? So now we can see that when we're working with the high fidelity, we can't save it, or it's not viewable for the app. So what if we use like the CDN approach to bring those in, right? So I'll take a look at the CDN piece of it, and then also there was another thing we wanted. How we do the audit, right? So tracking that this was submitted at this time and this was submitted at that time. So that would be our next session, and I will be on again tomorrow, Saturday live at 9:30. And then also the AI Power Builder thing, ordering the pizza through the pizza site. I will be working that over the holiday weekend and report back with my findings. Okay, have a great day. Have a wonderful holiday weekend. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all. Take care, and I'll see you soon.